I still remember that night like it's carved into the back of my mind, the kind of night where the buzz of fluorescent lights feels louder than your own heartbeat. My name's Janelle Rivers. I was 24 running the register at a place called Harbor Mart on the edge of Detroit and trying not to think about the empty fridge waiting for me at home. My rent was late, my stomach growled like a stray dog, and my phone kept lighting up with calls I couldn't answer. But there I was doing my best to smile at strangers while my world quietly unraveled. The bell over the door jingled, and in shuffled this old man. You know the type, coat a little too big, boots scuffed, moving slow like the floor might crack under him. He didn't look like trouble, didn't look like anybody important. He drifted down the aisles, touching things he clearly couldn't afford, like a man measuring out dignity with his fingertips. I watched him hover over the protein bars, pick one up, flip it, put it back. Same ritual I'd done myself 100 times when the math didn't work out. Want versus need. Hunger versus pride. He finally brought milk and bread up to my counter. His hands trembled as he counted his coins, lining them up like soldiers. That's when something inside me said, "Go ahead, girl. You know this pain." So I grabbed one of those protein bars from the rack, rang it on my own transaction, and slipped it into his bag. "Chocolate chips good when you're running on empty," I said, like it was no big deal. His eyes flicked up, startled. "You don't need to do that." "I know," I whispered, "but sometimes we all need something extra to get through the day." He stood there a second like the world had shifted under his feet, then nodded and left. What I didn't know, that quiet old man was William Cross, CEO of the entire Harbor Mart chain, 200 stores across 5 states. I just thought he was some widower trying to stretch his Social Security. Turns out he was wandering his own empire incognito, trying to remember what it felt like to be human again. He kept coming back. Different times, different excuses, coffee, aspirin, nothing he actually needed. I'd catch him by the magazines watching me help the regulars, helping Miss Jenkins read her prescription labels, letting Tyrell slide by when his lunch money came up short, climbing shelves for Mr. Alvarez so he wouldn't wrench his bad shoulder. It was just normal to me. Folks weren't customers, they were neighbors. But not everyone saw it that way. My manager, Kyle Benton, was one of those clipboard guys who smelled like cheap cologne and ambition. He'd been watching too, but with a snake's patience. Every little kindness, every break from policy he wrote down like a prosecutor building a case. To him, compassion was liability. He wanted a store that ran like a machine, and I was the squeaky gear. Then came the Tuesday that cracked it all open. Mrs. Rodriguez, single mom, 2 kids, her benefits card glitched at checkout. Her toddler started crying, lying behind her, growing restless, and I saw that look in her eyes, shame for being poor in public. Before I even thought about it, I swiped my own card for 24.13 so she could feed her kids and go. Kyle saw it all on the security monitor. His smile was pure shark. "Rivers' office. Now." His voice cut through the store like a blade. I walked back there, still trying to calm my heartbeat. The office smelled of burnt coffee and ego. He slid a folder across the desk. Unauthorized transaction modifications. Theft. Grounds for immediate termination. He leaned back like a judge delivering a death sentence. "I used my own money," I said quietly. "Irrelevant," he sneered. "Company policy section 4.7, clear as day. You're out." I took off my name tag, slow placed it on the desk like a flower on a grave. "I gave this store 2.5 years, I said, my voice steady. Customer satisfaction up 38%, repeat revenue up 42%. And you're firing me for making sure a mother could feed her kids." His smile didn't flicker. "Security will escort you out." Walking through that store with my cardboard box felt like doing the walk of shame in front of my whole neighborhood. People stared, whispered, some reached out but couldn't stop it. Outside, November wind cut through my jacket like paper. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, staring at the steering wheel, trying to figure out how kindness had become a fireable offense. Across the street, William Cross sat in a rental car watching. He'd seen that walk before in boardrooms when good people got axed for efficiency metrics. Only this time, it was personal. That night, he started making calls. By morning, the story had exploded online. Tyrell posted about it on TikTok. Miss Jenkins called the local news. Mr. Alvarez told everyone at the senior center. A 16-year-old kid named Rashad had filmed the whole confrontation on his phone for a school project. His video went viral, millions of views, comments pouring in about corporate greed and community betrayal. By afternoon, the Harbor Mart parking lot had turned into a town hall. Folding chairs, handmade signs, chants justice for Janelle. Good people deserve better. Local news trucks showed up, then national outlets sniffing a David versus Goliath story. I watched it all from my apartment, half stunned, half terrified. Me, just a broke cashier, turned into some kind of symbol. Then through the crowd, a figure walked up to the locked glass doors. Old man's coat scuffed boots, but now with a spine like steel. He turned to the cameras. "My name is William Cross," he said, voice carrying over the noise. "I'm the CEO of Harbor Mart." The crowd went dead silent. He went on to say he'd been visiting our store for a month, that I represented everything right about retail and everything wrong with corporate policy, and that this injustice ended tonight. But more than that, he said, this is where we start building something better, something that serves communities instead of extracting value from them. The applause rolled like thunder. My phone blew up. People I'd never met calling me a hero. Marcus, the kid saving for college, telling me I had to fight, had to take this chance to change the system. The next morning, William called me direct. Would you be willing to meet? No cameras, no pressure, just two people trying to do better. We met at a greasy spoon diner 6 blocks from the store. Heavy white mugs, cracked vinyl booths, coffee that tasted like burnt hope. He looked older than I remembered, more fragile. "I owe you an apology," he said, "and a proposal." "You lied about who you were," I said flatly. "I gave you my real name, just not my title. I needed to see with my own eyes what we'd lost." He stirred cream into his coffee. "I built a system that punishes decency. I want your help fixing it. Work with me part-time while you finish school. Pilot new policies. Real authority." I stared at him across the table, fingers tight around my mug. "I don't know if I can trust anyone in a suit right now." He nodded. "I wouldn't either. But trust what you saw in the store, the community you built. They deserve better." That night, Marcus called. "Miss Janelle, you got to take that job," he said, his voice cracking. "Show them how it's supposed to be done." He was right. If I didn't, nothing would change. Next day, I called William. "I accept," I said, "but on my terms. Harbor Mart stays open as our pilot. I work part-time till I finish my degree, and Fridays I still run the register. That store raised me. I'm not abandoning it." "Agreed," he said without missing a beat. "When can you start?" 6 months later, Harbor Mart looked nothing like the place I'd been fired from. Warm lights instead of sickly fluorescents. Community seating where folks lingered and talked. Local art on the walls. Essentials placed for accessibility, priced at cost when needed. Employee satisfaction at an all-time high. Theft near zero because people protected what they felt part of. Miss Rodriguez bringing her mother-in-law to meet me, pressing a wooden cross into my hand. Marcus running a tutoring program in the cafe. Mr. Alvarez holding court by the windows every afternoon telling neighborhood history. And me, I'd grown into someone I didn't recognize but finally respected. Still working Fridays behind the counter, still knowing everyone's name, still sneaking protein bars into bags when it mattered. But now also drafting policies, speaking at conferences, shaping a company from the inside out. William visited often, no disguise this time. We'd stand by the bulletin board covered in job postings and babysitting offers and lost dog flyers, and he'd say, "This is what business should have been all along." One evening I was restocking the protein bar rack, the same one where it started when my phone buzzed with an email I'd been accepted to Wayne State's business program. William smiled, newspaper under his arm. "Told you you'd excel," he said. "My wife always said the best education happens when theory meets practice in service of something larger than yourself. Now sometimes professors and journalists show up trying to measure what we've built. Customer retention rates, ROI of kindness, all that. But they miss the Tuesday mornings when a kid's mom finally graduates nursing school and the whole store celebrates. They miss the quiet miracle of an old man teaching a teenage mom how to stretch a grocery budget without losing her dignity. They miss the fact that I still pay for protein bars out of my own pocket, because some things can't be turned into policy, they just have to be lived. Standing behind the counter on a Friday afternoon watching my community knit itself back together, I realized success wasn't about climbing out of your circumstances, it was about transforming them so everyone could rise together. The protein bar framed behind the register isn't a trophy, it's a reminder. Sometimes the smallest gestures carry the greatest weight. Sometimes the most human thing you can do is also the most revolutionary. And now I'm asking you, you watching this, to think about it. Have you ever seen kindness punished? Have you ever had to choose between rules and doing what's right? Drop your stories in the comments. Tell me what you think about corporations, about community, about what it takes to make change real. Like and subscribe if you believe small acts can still change big systems. Because somewhere out there, another cashier is about to make a choice, and maybe your voice, your story will be the spark that helps kindness win again.